Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade.
Greetings, friends. It's Monday again, and it's time to wrest some order out of this chaos. We are in week, what is this, week 3 of the Saturn V build and the AMTronic build. The AMtronic's mostly done. Some finishing touches to do on that. But the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and it's a good time to put a first coat of this universal white on at least stage 1. I need to cover up those engine bells. These guys, I need to cover those up so I can take it outside and put it on a Lazy Susan and spin it around and put a coat of white paint on it. Also need to cover up this joint here at the very top so that I don't get a lot of paint buildup. And if you get too much paint buildup, you won't be able to slide the other one on top of it because they're pretty tight as it is. So let me get a quick piece of tape on that, and then we'll be ready to go. It's Monday afternoon and things are just going swimmingly. It's a beautiful day out today, so wanted to take care of some woodworking that I needed to do. Needed to build this little traveling base for Pilot so that he has something to sit upon when he is on display. And also in the other room drying are the most of the rocket that's missing from this picture here. I got a coat of the a universal white on it. Glossy white, looks good. It's drying like a dream. And next thing you know, I'll be ready to start mapping out the black areas on it. I think the last thing I want to do this afternoon before any length of time goes by is I want to get out some oh, what's the word? Some future. I want to future this future car. I want to future the windows on it. I want to feature the featured windows. And then I can get back onto this hawk that is laying in pieces here. But I was also thinking while I was here, I wanted to do the vinyl for Pilot's nameplate. So that's something I can be working on. And I also need to put felt on the bottom. There we go, some colored vinyl and a little bit of felt later. And this base is done. Now let's go put Pilot on him. There we go. Now he's presentable. He's ready for his big day butt. But yeah, I like that. He does hang off the back a little bit. I noticed that. I didn't quite do a good enough job of measuring the back of that, so I don't know what to do. I just going to let him hang off the back. Maybe I'll make a little tube that goes through there. I don't know. Glue it on. Yeah, I like that. It is Tuesday, and I'm going to start doing some serious paint work on stage 1 of the Saturn V. And the most obvious place to start to me are these 4 big areas of black on the base of the stage 1. So marking those off and getting them ready to paint is going to be a job for this morning. Now this area here that extends below the base is actually silver. I'm going to go ahead and paint that black, and then I'll just paint the the silver over. It's easier. It's going to be easier for me, I think, to mask this side of it and paint there down than it would be to try to mask from there up. So we'll see it, and if it turns out that I made a mistake, well, it won't be the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this around the rest of the bottom, and then mask or cover up the rest of this with big tape, because that black paint, especially in a rattle can, is going to want to get everywhere. So let's continue to the masking process. Okay, I'm all taped off and ready to paint. Let's see how bad we can make this look. Well, I've got the black painted on, and I'm wondering, I'm going to play our favorite game. Can you spot the thumbprint? Yeah, right there. Big old fat thumbprint. I've got to wait for this paint to dry, and then I'm going to have to wet sand that down. But man, stupid mistake. Happens to the worst of us. The rest of it seems to come out okay. I was very careful not to spray in the direction of the paint, or in the direction of the tape. So hopefully it'll keep it clean. You can see by the colorful collection of tape we've got going on that I've got the last bit of the bits blocked off that won't get the white or won't get the black paint put on them. got the black paint painted down there, got it on there, got it on there. I just need to do this last bit. I'm sure there will be some touch-ups that need doing, but this I hope will do about 95% of the work. Alrighty, I'm starting to peel the tape off and revealing the mess underneath, and for the most part I'm coming out pretty good. I knew there was going to be some touch-up. You can see a little bit there where black got some splatter, but I think what I can do with that is I should be able to tape that off and touch those up with the airbrush and just decant a little of that paint into an airbrush, and I think that I can get away with taking care of it that way. These ones look pretty good. Might want to touch those two joints together so that they meet more perfectly, but yeah, I would say I'm 92% there. Now I got to go out and do the big one. That's going to be scary. We'll see how that one turned out. I've got the tape off and I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed, not by the tape, but my own rushing through things. It's not the horizontals that's bugging me. It's the places where it's on the verticals where I should have really known better. Should have really pressed that edge. I mean, there's no excuse for that other than the fact I didn't press it down, wasn't very careful. I have to decide whether or not these guys are supposed to be white or not. I think they are, which means I've got to repaint the bottom part down here. I kind of like them being the same color as those black stripes, so I got to do more research to see whether or not I can get away with that and still be semi-canon. I got some boo-boos going on down here, but those are going to be painted silver anyway, so I'm not all that concerned about it at this point. This kind of stuff, though, I got to go back in and touch, and that's only a matter of, like I said, taking the airbrush and some detail tape. But I'm going to let all this black paint dry at least overnight and tackle this again tomorrow. Let it sit. Let me start stacking some of this stuff up. Actually, I need the piece that's in the other room. I can't even do that much. I can do this much. But what I'm learning is that I really need to let the black set up overnight. There you go. It's getting there. It's getting there. It was a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be. But look at this. There's no reason for that sloppiness. I gotta fix that. I gotta touch that back up. I've decided to mask these off and paint them before I go out today, and that way that could be the third main color, and that could be drying. What I'm going to do is put a gray coat over all of it, and then put the metallic over top of that. So I've got them, like I said, I've cut out a bunch of arcs on vinyl, and when you put the arcs over the curved surface, it gives you a straight line. So let's get to painting on these. Alrighty, we've got the silverish metallic, or yeah, I guess metallic gray on the bottom of the thruster housings. And yeah, there's a little bit of cleanup to be done on those as well, but better to do all that cleanup at the same time than to do all this cleanup and then paint those on and find you've got more cleanup to do. So things like this really irk me because I should have been better than that, but easy enough to fix. I just have to run out and get some white and some black paint, and my only problem is if I don't use the stuff in the duplicolor can, is it going to match the whites and the blacks? I'm going to have to blend them in to make them match if I use Tamiya's or something like that. Although Tamiya's airbrush better and they cover better. And that's the important thing. If you're covering black with white, you don't want to have to glop it on there. And so that's the question, is if I use the duplicolor, is it going to be thick enough? I think I can get away with touching the black with the duplicolor, but the white, I may have to use a different brand of white and then go back in and blend it a little bit better. Well, it's time to start cleaning up the black and the white paint on the Saturn V. I've got the airbrush all cleaned out and ready to go, which is always good practice, but especially if you're going to be painting white paint, you want to have your brush as clean as possible. And I was asked how I was going to keep the paint from creeping down into these creases. Well, what I decided to do, rather than Well, I'm masking. That's basically what I'm doing. I've cut tiny thin strips and I'm putting it in between each one. Now, I could have, literally spent a week doing this between every single one and, knowing that it would have worked and spent all that time up front. Or I could have just taken my chances with putting the tape across the top ridges and then going back and fixing the ones that were affected. And that's what I decided to do because it's a small percentage of all of them. And I think it's just time better spent. So what I've done is I've cut a bunch of 1mm strips and I am filling in the spaces in between. And then I'll put a piece of tape over the whole thing and then go back in and fill it, spray the white and touch that up. So let's start the adventure, shall we? Okay, here you can see I've got all of the inside edges taped off. And now I'm going to put one, and I really don't care about what's going on back here. I just care that the base right at the dividing line is covered. And now I'm going to put a piece over the tops of them, over the ridges, and then spray some white. And then if this principle works out, if this method works, I'll carry it over to the rest of the ship, but no sense getting too worked up about it until I have verified that it will in fact work. But you can see the black that needs to be, or the overspray here that needs to be cleaned up. And now I've got the top part masking off that ridge, and you can see the area that needs to be cleaned up. So let's mix up some paint. Well, you don't really mix white, it comes out of pretty much comes out of the jar that way. But let's get some in the brush and do a little bit of spraying. Well, the lesson is learned, and I think this is going to work just fine. I just need to tweak a couple aspects of it. But I've also learned it's important to keep two brushes running. So I've got one brush with white and one brush with black so that I can kind of go back and forth as I need to, rather than doing all the white all over the rocket and then coming back and trying to do all the black. It's better if I do it by section and go back and then clean up. So this is good. I'm going to set this aside to dry. I am hoping and praying upon everything that I hold dear that once I spray it with a satin finish, that it will, the blacks and the whites will kind of merge better than they are now. I can see differences in the finishes, which is, in some places it's okay, but in some places it looks like a patch job. So I'm praying that when I hit it with a unifying clear coat that it will blend all those together. Oh, I also took a shot at starting the engine bells with a metallics, but let's get back to this piece now. Okay, I think you can tell that it's looking a lot cleaner, a lot sharper, a lot crisper, especially down in here. I've got this area up here to work on, but I want to get to the point where I'll need to let some paint dry because I'm stepping over myself again, which is never a good sign. It always means that I'm going to put a thumbprint on something. But I've got the first stage all nice and sharp and crisp and clean now, and I've just got a little bit up in here to worry about on the second stage. Well, no, it's still first stage, but it's going along nicely. Here is the second/third stage coupler. It's looking pretty good. I needed to make those two lines. See, what I was running into was, I would start a line here, and I meant it to follow it the rest of the way up here, but I was noticing that I might have painted a ridge, like this ridge here was black, but this ridge here was white, so I needed to extend the black over one more to make it absolutely line up. I had a lot of tape covering the main rocket while I was painting, so I didn't always necessarily get the exact measurements right. So whereas this is white here, whereas that one is white, I needed to make sure that the next one that was painted, keep going, there you go, make sure that that one was also white. That's the kind of stuff I was doing, just neatening them up. So it's exhausting work, it's tedious, it's tiresome, and I'm going to take a break. Well, friends, we're work continues on the smaller bits, and I've come upon a day of great sadness. I was taking the tape off of this bit, and I found a big old cloud of paint on the inside where all the tape had not been matched up, and that was the danger. See, I put tape on the outside, and when I put the tape on the inside, I couldn't see where the tape had been and where it hadn't been because I saw tape, and what I was looking at was the back of the tape from the outside, not the fresh tape on the inside. So when you do this next time, start taping from the inside first. But so I've got this big cloud, and I know if I try to clean it off, it's going to fog that whole plastic. It's going to fog the whole clear up. So I'm going to try to clean it, knowing that the fallback is going to be to paint the whole thing. I wanted to have the clear so that I could see the lunar module, but I may have to sacrifice that if I can't get that clean. Oh well, what are you going to do? I know you're going to be careful next time. I think maybe we've reached a compromise. I've got the inside clean pretty well down to this point. Underneath here is where that worst spot is. So I'm thinking I can use this panel line, the stage line here, and just paint the bottom of it, and that would still leave that window where I could see most of the lunar module. So I think that's a good compromise, and it still leaves me a little bit of clear, but it takes care of the worst spot. Adding a bit of color to the bits and bobs, and I got this idea from a gent online, and I promise I will look up your name because it's such a great idea. I tried it. Silver and then clear orange over it. I love it. I am still going to mist it with a gold, but I really like the way that it fits down inside of the creases. Like I said, I do want to do a dry brush of gold over top of it, but I love it. Good idea. Thank you. See, I do read my comments. Good morning and welcome back. It is Thursday. It's been an adventurous day here around the old family compound. I was doing dishes last night, and all of a sudden my water stopped cold in its pipes. It would not come any further, and I am on a well system. I am not on public water. So, quick call to my plumberly friend who helped me out last year with a similar problem. And this morning, long story short, I am the proud owner of a new well pump, which took a big old bite out of the old wallet. But it is something that you need to do, and it's still, I ran the numbers, and still cheaper than being on county or city water. Since I figured out how much I had spent for the repair today and amortized that, I guess, averaged it over the last years since it was replaced, and it still came out cheaper doing that than being on the city water. So that's neither here nor there, but I am really looking forward to a shower this morning, so that's why I'm not on camera. But these are our victims for today. I want to thank James Kirk, I don't believe that's your real name, James, for this tip. This painting the bottom of the lunar module, he advised painting it silver and then going over it with a clear orange, and you get a nice gold that way. Well, you do. That's the clear orange over the silver, and then because I never good enough to leave something alone, I went over lightly with the model gold Model Air from Vallejo and just did some highlight, some dry brushing over it. But I think it came out quite nice. And now I need to go back, do some research, and see which parts of this need to be painted flat black and which parts need to be left silver and things like that. Engine detail is coming along. I'm going to put some coloration on the pipes up here, and then those will be ready to attach to the base plate. Getting down to it, this is Thursday today. I'm going to do maybe one more day on this, and then spray it with the clear, and over the weekend let that dry so that Monday we can start all the decaling, which is its own animal. There are so many fine decals on this thing that I don't want to rush it, but I do want to take my time on that, but I don't want to start on that this week. And this is the last bit of Big Hull that needs to be cleaned up. You can see some overspray that needs to be touched up, and I can handle that today. And I have decided to paint this white. I'm going to paint that white, paint the tower white, and then pop, when I need to, I can just pop it off of the top of the command module and show you the nice brilliant silver that is underneath. So that's my goal for today. Let's see how far we get down that glory path. Playing around a bit with the lunar module, the eagle as it were, and having a tough time because looking at reference pictures, and you got to balance 2 or 3 different references of, and I went to the Air and Space Museum's recreation because those guys know their stuff. They don't joke around. If Air and Space Museum says this is what it looks like, you can put your money on the fact that this is what it damn well looks like. So where I'm running into problems is, or interpretations, is I don't know how much of this is actually silver and how much of it is black, because these panels, depending on how the lighting is going, can look black or they can look silver. So you can see that's all painted one color, but depending on how the light hits it, those gray or those silvers can be varying tones. And so I'm going for the stuff that when they put a flash on it, you could see was clearly flat black. And I'm painting those areas in, but I'm leaving all of those silvers, those metallic sides, left to interpretation because of that very fact. What I'm going to do, since the windows in this are not clear, I'm just going to paint a little bit of the clear or the gloss paint over the window panes themselves so that it looks like they're nice and glossy. But other than that, I think we're ready for a coat of gloss and then decals, and I think we're ready to go. Here you can see I did spray that clear bit that goes over top of the command module white, and the rest of the tower there is white. And I'm working on getting these two guys, getting the whites and blacks better defined on this chunk. Then I think we are into finishing up the paint on the thrusters or on the engines themselves, and we will be ready to button this thing up and give it a final coat and get it ready for decals. Just finished up the engine bells for the main stage, and the last touch was just a little spot of transparent purple. Just a little bit here and there to show intense heat on the metal. Not too much, not too little, just enough, I think. I don't want to go overboard, certainly, but these are ready for a, I know they're silver, they're shiny now, but they're going to get a flat coat, which is going to help knock down some of all of the different shades and tones going on and unify them a bit. Those all need to dry. We're working on this, putting a little bit of color and grime and definition in there because a lot of it is going to get covered up by this plate here, but it is going to give you some nice shadow work up inside there. So let's see, catch you up on command module. Got the white in there, and again a little bit of the scorching on the bell, and that's going to be it for the time being. Oh, so I got the got some shading done on this base plate here that the engines are all going to sit on. So they need to get a unifying coat of flat, and then we will be able to assemble. I think I want to get ready to put these guys onto here, but I want to make sure everything's got good and dry, and any last touches I need to look at, I need to do, because once they're upside down and on the plate, it's much like dinner. It's too late to do anything but to enjoy it. I've got this stage, or this chunk of stage 2 all cleaned up. I've got all the white repainted, and now it's time to remove the tape and move the little bits to the other side and paint the white, or I'm sorry, touch up the black. That's what I just did the white. Now it's time to do the black. It's time to close the books on today, and what a day it's been. This is all cleaned up now. What you're seeing is a bunch of little white tape. That's confusing you. You may think it's paint. It's white tape that is filling in those spaces. So I'm going to let all that dry, and then we will take off that tape, and then hopefully by tomorrow it will be ready to get its clear coat, and then we can be on to decaling. The command module is filling in nicely. I'm still touching that, going back in with some white to get these panels done, and some silvers in here and there. The lunar module is mostly done. I'm still picking at that. I want to let it dry before I go back in it, because I can't remember what parts I've painted and what parts I haven't, which invariably will lead to me touching wet paint. And I could pop this on the top of, come on, pop that on the top. There you go. And that is the final bit of that. So clear coat on that will take it worlds away. I'm going to try not to put any clear coats over the metallics, because that does nasty things to them. And this is where we'll pick it up tomorrow. Good morning. Well, it's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. First full week in May shot down, and the days are getting precious and few between now and not only the Escape Velocity show in DC, but also Wonderfest, the holy mecca of the modeling year. So what we're going to do today is we're going to finish the AMTronic. Yes, we're back to that today, believe it or not. I just got done. Oh, and I just made a big mistake. Help me, help me. Okay. Oh, I got to fix that. I just got done putting the future on the windows on this future vehicle. And the secret to doing future is start with a clean brush that you have not used for anything else. And I'm going to have to clean that off. I got some schmutz from a towel here. I just need to go get some more future and put on top of that to get rid of it. So I got to put the camera down. I'll be right back. Well, that's better. Quick wiped off with a little bit of window cleaner. And if you ask, what does the window cleaner do? It makes the brain die last. And if you understand that reference, you are my friend forever. And if you don't, you have some educating of yourself to do. Anyway, so a little bit of window cleaner, and then dry off, and then recoat it with the future and let it dry. But I've got the future on these big windows. And the last thing, I got to do some little touch-up painting right in there. I want to accentuate those grills with a wash. But the last thing to do really is fix this joint of the front and back. And it's got this little catch here that I'm not wild about. I'm going to see about putting in a set of magnets and just using a couple of magnets front and back to hold those in place. So let the windows dry and then come back to that. Interesting thing that I did not even realize I was doing until it was pointed out to me, and then I immediately smacked myself on the forehead with enough force that I was thrown out of my own chair when I realized it. This color here, I thought I was being so, oh, well, that's nice, that's original, I like that. And then I showed a picture of this car to somebody, and they immediately pointed out, said, well, someone thinks very highly of themselves, don't they? And I went, what? That's the color of your car. And I hadn't even realized that it's the same color, or very close to it, as the color of my Honda. So that's why I liked it. It's like, oh, well, the interior is different. The interior of my car is black as opposed to this. But I couldn't figure out why I was digging this color. And then, you dummy, you go out and look in the garage, and you'll see that your car is that exact color. So let's move this off of the center stage here and let it dry for a bit. And then I want to do one last touch on these engine bells, which I put a flat coat on them yesterday or last night, and they're ready to install on that base plate. But I want to do one last touch on these pipes with the pale burnt metal, and I might even dry brush that on there. I'm not sure. Probably won't. Anyway, let me get this out of the way, and then we'll do this last touch up, and then we'll be ready to assemble that base plate. Well, this will be a day long remembered. Sorry, it's May the 4th today. May the 4th be with you, gentle viewer. Of course, the TV is running a Star Wars marathon. What better background to have while working on models? I have to ask you. This is the base plate of the mighty Saturn V, and these are not glued in. They don't need to be. The press fit on this is so good and so exact, and the paint buildup is so much that they really don't need to be glued in. I do, however, need to glue in these guys onto this plate. I will put a heap and helping of hospitality on there and get those ready to go. See, like I said, it's a big old shame that so much of this plate covers that detail, so it's not really a lot of reason to go too deep in your detailing. So that's what we're going to do, finish that up, and then we'll be ready for the last bits of construction before the flat coat, or the gloss coating. The gloss coating, and then comes the decals. I think I'm going to run out and get a brand new can of the gloss spray, only because I am going to be gloss spraying over white, and I want to make sure that it is new can, well shook up, and not in any risk of yellowing over the weekend, or sometimes when you get down to the bottom of a can of clear coat, if you have not shaken it well the whole time, the gloss goo, for lack of a better term, can settle at the bottom, and when you're spitting that all out, that's the stuff that's going to hit and has the most risk of turning yellow. So a new full can of gloss is on the shopping list for this afternoon. We're down to some final stages, no puns intended, on the Saturn V, and we have to address this issue now. You can see where I closed in this little window here to make up for the goof that I did of getting overspray on the inside. And this is the window you're supposed to see the lunar module through, but there's a problem with that, and that is when you take this off of this kit, the ball here is sitting, and there should be some sort of platform, I'm gathering, between this and the bottom of the lunar module. What happens is you either need to sit this like this on top of the tank. If you do that, then this will fit down over it, and it looks quite nice. But I don't like that. I think that's kind of shaky. So do I make some sort of floor that sits up like that, or do I make some sort of pin arrangement that pins this to that dome and makes it a lot easier to keep in place? Now the lunar module has a cone there that is the engine cone, and I'm wondering if I put something on here that kind of goes up into that cone, it won't be accurate to the rocket, certainly, because this is the top of a fuel tank, but it will help lock that lock the lunar module in place on that cone. So let me see what we've got that I can rig up for that. This is a microcosm of what it actually is needed to happen, since this part was not glued into the bottom of the lunar module. I need some way to pin that to there, or make an interior shape that this can fit down over top of and attach it to the top of this dome, so that it will have something to rest on. Now these are pieces that there was 3 or 4 of these that were provided in the kit and never really given a real good definition of what they were meant to be. So I'm thinking maybe if I gang up a couple of those, I could use them. Let's try it. Oh, I came up with a clever solution. You remember this part here? The part I was saying, oh, we didn't need? This is the docking ring. It goes between the command module and the lunar module. You don't use it in this configuration because it was made for another model kit. But what I can do with it is pop that guy right down into there and use it to rest the lunar module on. So, and luckily, should be easy to find a center here because all these lines, all I gotta do is join them together and find a center. There you go, and it even looks semi-official. Yes, if that were a real tank, it wouldn't have that on it, but this is what you do. So now this sits on top. I'm waiting for the glue to dry, but that sits on top of it, and it actually fits up in the way the kit is built. There is a hole there, a receptacle. So that will go up into there, and the rest of the lunar module will then sit upon it like that. There you go, and it'll hold it up a little bit off of the tank and make it viewable through the window. Yay! I have to get this far back to get the whole thing in picture, and even then I barely can do it. Maybe if I do this, but then everybody gets queasy. I've got the whole world in my hands. I got the whole Saturn V stacked up like pancakes. Yes, I'm mere inches from hitting the ceiling. I am ready to start the decaling next week, but he's good and done. And that's where I'm not going to move this thing around. This is where we're going to finish it for this week. Get way up in there. Oh yeah. Now the clear part is in the back. It's turned to the back, obviously, but nice and clean on the variations between the black and the white. Nice and clean, just the way I like it. And we'll add color to it next week when we start to put the decals on. Okay, we are getting ready to finish up the AMTronic. Now, this is going to finish my report on the AMTronic. It is mostly done. I remember I told you that my buddy Brian is going to send me, or I'm going to pick up from him at Wonderfest, the control yoke part that I am missing. And when that happens, I will make a special report and come back and add that. That is the missing piece from right here. So it's not the last time you will see the AMTronic, but this is the last week I'm going to have it as a featured part of the build, since next week is going to be all about decaling the rocket. So in order to get this finished, I need to address this guy, and to make the magnets work, first I have to snip off this protruding bit that doesn't really work. It may have worked in the 70s when this came out, but it don't work for me right now, so I need to get rid of it. Okay, for my last feat of magic for the day, I shall make these two cars into one car through the mysteries of magnetics. And it's as simple as this. And it beeps up, backs up, and boom. They are joined, and a gentle tug is all it takes to pull them apart. And that was accomplished by putting some magnets in there that look just like the brake lights. I may want to paint over them, but I don't see the real need to do that. They look like they are part of the design. And the mates to those are right here, bing and bing. A little bit smaller on that side. But when you back them up together, ba-boom. And of course the doors close. And that's going to do it for this model. When I come back from Wonderfest and I've got the control yoke on there, then we'll revisit it at the time. But until then, we're going to call this kit a done kit. And I'm going to go get the command module from the stack out in the other room, because everything else is way too big to bring in here, and this will be our representative. I'll bring in the command module, and we'll have the LEM and that, and that will be our weekly wrap-up. And there we go. That'll be a representation of what we got finished this week. And a nice little Lunar module. Ready for its final coat of clear, and then decals, and then a flat coat over top of that, because a lot of the finishes on this should be flat. And the command module and the escape tower. And that's going to do it for this week. What a pretty picture. And back it up a little bit, and instant separation. Look at that. It's two ships in one, or 2 cars in one. And that brings us to the end of this week's work. Got a lot done, a lot of acreage covered on that Saturn V. And of course now it becomes the fun, what is usually the most tedious and troublesome part of the build, putting decals on. I'm hoping is going to be the easiest part of this build, because it's been a challenge up till now. I feel like I've fought that rocket every step of the way. But it is done, it is built, it is standing tall and proud on the dining room table. And it's ready for its final beauty pass, as it were. AMTronic is all but done. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Not the best car model to start with if you're just starting car models. It's has a lot of features on it that most car models don't have. Not the best, if you're dipping your toe back in the car building market, not the best one to start with, but a fun build nonetheless. And that's going to do it for this week. Next week, as I'm getting ready for Wonderfest, I'm going to be doing probably less new model building, and maybe pulling out what I'm going to take and cleaning it up and fixing anything and touching up any paint that needs touched up and getting it ready to go on the road. So until next week, and we'll see what that brings us. Be good to each other. We'll see you here next time.